Hello, real estate world. Welcome to the Nova Show, Real Estate Records. This is Nuria Rivera, owner of Novation Title. I wanted to create the space for you guys to be able to share success stories, but not only success stories. I also wanted you guys to be able to share raw stories. Everything that you have learned from the failures, the lessons, the wins. This is a space for our community to come together so that we can help each other rise to the next level. This is the space to be vulnerable, and this is the space for us to all be able to support each other in this real estate world. Please enjoy this episode.
Here we go. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Nova Show Real Estate Records. My name is Tristan Hammett, and today I am thrilled to spotlight Chad Wagstaff, a dynamic realtor who entered the industry in 2012 and swiftly climbed the ranks. With a robust average of 40 transactions annually and multiple years as a top 500 realtor, Chad's dedication to client satisfaction and his positive impact are undeniable. Stay tuned as we uncover the secrets to his thriving real estate journey. Hello and welcome, Chad Wagstaff.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited that we're finally here. It's been a while.
I've canceled a couple of times.
But we're here and we're doing this, so no leaving.
It's happening now.
It's happening. So, Chad Wagstaff is a very near and dear friend to the owner of Novation Title, Nuria. And I was introduced to him kind of like here and there, but we really got to know each other on a flight back from Dallas. We both happened to be at Tony Robbins. And I sat in between him and his friend Derek, and we talked the entire way. He is a blast to be around, and he's so funny. So I'm really hoping we can get through this podcast. So Chad.
Yes.
Tell us about yourself. Where are you from?
Yeah.
Where did you grow up? And then how did you get into real estate?
Sure. So I grew up here in Salt Lake in Holiday. I live in North Salt Lake now. I actually got my degree in urban planning and development in 2009. So I kind of thought that I might go into real estate development or planning, and I did an internship at Sandy City, planning and zoning department, just kind of learning the public side of that, and I didn't really vibe with it or like it that much. And so, you know, at the time I was working at a restaurant, PF Chang's, and I was the manager, and you know, anyway, after I graduated college, I started kind of working in the restaurant industry, and after a few years of that, I knew I liked sales, I knew I liked commission, but I didn't really want to work at a restaurant, you know, for the rest of my life. So one year after a series of bad Christmas Eve shifts, if anyone's ever worked in a restaurant, you know, you can remember certain shifts. And I had a bad Christmas Eve shift. And it was on that day, literally in 2011, that I was like, I'm got to do something else. And so I started up for real estate school, and my wife and I had actually just bought our first home. And that kind of was like, well, you know, I have my degree in the commercial side or development side. And, you know, I wanted to kind of try my hand at a more personal aspect, more customer service based, because I liked that from the restaurant. And that's what led me to get my real estate license.
Okay. And it's been on the up and up ever since.
Yeah.
So he's on a very large team right now. You're the team leader essentially, right?
Yeah, I'm not the boss. We have a team lead, and I'm the trainer. So I kind of co-run the team with him, and but still my focus is production. I do deals and then help kind of train the new guys. And
okay, and when you first got in, did you join a team immediately, or were you solo, or? Good
question. No, so I mentioned that we bought our first home before I was a licensed agent. And my realtor at that point was our family friend that I'd known my whole life. He was my next door neighbor. And he ran a really small little brokerage in Holiday. And so he let me come and just work for him for a year. So I spent the first year not really doing anything. Honestly, I just sat at this desk, and I no training, no shade to him. He's amazing. But I just I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know what to do. And I just was on Facebook and then waiting tables at night. So for the first year, I didn't do anything. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I sold my cousins a house.
Oh, okay.
So that was great.
Yeah.
That was my first year. And then I moved over to a big company. And, I finally was like, I can't keep doing this. And my friend's brother was an agent at this big brokerage. And so he was like, oh, like my buyer's agent made $100,000. Like, you should come work for me. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I came over to my current company that I'm still at. And I was on this other team. And, I worked there for like 4 or 5 months. And I had some leads, but I didn't have like a lot of guidance. Like he was busy. I was just like still kind of sitting by myself at a desk, not knowing what to do. I had more training from the brokerage, but I didn't have like mentorship, or like accountability or like anything. So one day I still remember it was one September morning. I come into work and this guy, my team lead, my friend's brother, he's like, hey, can we talk? And I was like, sure. Like, what's up? He's like, yeah, this isn't really working for you. It's not working for me. So, like, I think it's better we just split ways. And I was just, like, completely blindsided. Because I was like, I'm an overachiever. Like, I've always, like, done well or been promoted or been the leadership or whatever. And I was just like...
You just got fired.
I, like, had never been fired. I was just like, what? I was totally blindsided, devastated. So anyway, that like was a real big piece of humble pie. Not that I was like producing or like I probably deserved to be fired, but I just was so shocked because I hadn't been given really any guidance either. So I was like, why are you firing me? So anyway, this story has an end, and the end is after I got fired from that team, I started looking around for other team leaders who would take me on. And I was super scared that I was going to get fired and have to leave the industry. I was like eager to learn. Like I just wanted somebody to tell me what to do. And, when I first started, I was kind of worried about the splits and my percentages and how much they would take and those types of things. So I kind of hadn't really gone into a mega team situation before because I was so nervous to give up an extra 10% or 15% or whatever it was. So, finally I was like, well, if I'm not closing any deals, it doesn't matter what percent they take, So anyway, I joined another team with my partner, my now partner, and it was like the perfect setup. It was like leads and accountability and daily tasks and just like a system to follow. And as soon as I had a system with kind of a plan and a few little things, it wasn't even that groundbreaking. It was pretty basic. As soon as I had somebody tell me exactly what to do, I started doing it. And like that first year, I closed 39 deals, like in the first
That is wild.
year. So it was like from, that was
14?
14. Yeah,
2014. Okay, so I want to talk about like two things that you had mentioned. So the first year, you'd only sold one home. And then when you joined that first team, you got fired. What was your motivation to keep going? Because a lot of people after a year having one transaction, they might feel like defeated and not really, they might give up easily, right? So what was like your motivator to, even after like leaving that first team, how did you stay focused on like, no, this is what I want. Like I have to make this work.
Yeah, good question. I mean, I was around people who were successful. I think that was number one. Like I mean, I've always had like a moderate amount of self-confidence or kind of like, yeah, I can do whatever I kind of put my mind to. But I don't know, I just was around people who were figuring it out. So I knew that I could figure it out if I was just kind of in the right room, you know, like
for sure.
And I felt like even at the big brokerage that I was at, there's all these people doing all these deals and taking these listings and going on appointments. And I'm just like, why not me? Like I felt like that genuinely. And then I also was extremely motivated by not wanting to go back to work at a restaurant because I was still serving tables at night. So when I got my real estate license, I quit managing, but I was still like picking up waiting shifts, you know. So I was like, I knew I didn't really have a plan B there. And my wonderful wife was working full time. And I just felt like I was using up my equity. Like I gotta get something. I gotta get a paycheck, you know, and
okay.
So I don't know, I guess. And I think my biggest thing was I didn't have a plan B. It was like, I'm going all in on this. I'd already maybe had some sunk costs. Like I was like, I've already been doing this 18 months, like, and a lot of people around me are making big money. So like,
I can do this.
How could I do it, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so then you jump up to 39 transactions in like 2014. That's awesome. And so a lot of newer agents, I like when they join teams I think it gets you into the flow of things. It teaches you the tasks that need to be done on the daily in order to succeed in this business. You have accountability. In your team's case, you guys get a lot of leads. So I do try and encourage newer agents to join a team. If they really come from no real estate experience or anything, I think it's really important to have all the activities because they do work and they do pay off. So for you, though, you've been on a team practically since your whole real estate career, and a lot of people might leave, not everyone, but a lot of people leave teams as they grow in their business, right? So how have you, and you actually have a lot of agents on your team that have been on the team for a while.
Yeah,
so
we have a low turnover rate.
Yeah, and that's great because that's actually something that a lot of team leaders and brokers have a problem with is high turnover.
Yeah.
So how do you keep the morale or the culture of the team to where everyone wants to stay with you?
Yeah, good question. So my friend and team leader, his name's Dave. He's just an incredible guy, number one. But, I kind of lucked into being around these people. But, when I started to do well on the team after 2014, I had several years in a row doing, 1 year I did 45 transactions and 50 transactions. I was doing a lot, and as I was growing and my business was evolving, my team accommodated the changes that I needed to make. And so eventually I stopped taking so many team leads and was kind of transform my business into working my SOI. And then I took a leadership role on the team as a team trainer. So the team had a big enough vision that I could reach each milestone, a new goal kind of within the team. And then once I was in leadership on the team, then I started buying rental properties and doing flips, which I wouldn't have done if I was just on my own somewhere. Because my team leader does a lot of that. And so I was like, okay, so that's how you do the numbers. And we partnered on a deal, and then we bought a rental together. And so anyway, there's very few Daves in the world that are just stand-up guys and good mentors, but that's what I was able to find. And so because of that, there's never really been a reason to leave the team. Sure, I get asked all the time to do different things, and I've been distracted by different opportunities, but ultimately at the end of the day, I've never had to make a change.
Okay, awesome.
Well, I made changes according to my goals along the way, but it's all been possible in my environment.
Okay. And so you're every day, you're coming into the office, which I think that's very important. Yep. Very important. I see a lot of the top 500 agents most of them have that in common. They go to an office space and they are surrounded by other people working and, keeps you on task. And I want to talk about, because you said now you're not working the leads, So how do you reach out to your SOI, stay in front of them, and have them keep coming back and sending you referrals?
I think so obviously I've got, a CRM, and I've got a drip campaign of, general, not really even that great of content necessarily, but just kind of things going out regularly that keep me front of mind. We do 3 client events a year, which is a big way for me to, 3 times a year at minimum, reach out to my people directly through text or calls and email, just to kind of be invite them to something, provide value, stay relevant in their life. Customer service is a huge thing for me. I really care about people and their experience.
And that came from working in the restaurant industry.
I think it did. I think by nature I have that kind of built into me, but definitely cultivated in restaurant and just being an extreme extrovert helps me. But I really care, and so when I do a transaction with people, it never feels like it really ends. I maintain conversations with my clients after they close, weeks after they close, months after they close, years after they close, about, hey, did you ever remodel that bathroom? Or what did you do with the creepy room in the basement? Or just silly things like that. But a lot of my clients feel really comfortable reaching back out to me and being I've got a guy yesterday, he's like, hey, we have a carport. And I'm like, I know you have a carport. I sold you your house. And he's like, yeah, I just didn't know if you remembered. I'm like, of course I remember. You know what I mean? And that's natural to me. But he was talking about, he's gotten a bid to do a garage, and It's like, how much would it's going to cost us this? How much return will I get if we were to sell? And so we just had like a really open dialogue of like, you know, what I think the value of his house is now, even though he has no intention of selling it. And, you know, I think it's important as an agent to give that kind of attention and
the fact that he went to you as a resource to find out more, you know, of your thoughts. So he obviously looks at you as an expert to go and get advice from.
Yeah. And so that's like, that feels really natural and normal to me. But if that's something you're not doing or you don't feel like is like a strength of yours, then I would work on cultivating that type of easy, conversational, I'm always around kind of vibe. And I supplement that with some social media stuff. I don't do great at social media, in my opinion, but I do something and I try to comment on my friends and family and client stuff and connect with them and engage with them, and that's a good place to do it.
Yeah. What are the 3 events that you do a year? I know Cowabunga Bay.
Yeah, so usually in the summer we do like a water park party. We've been doing Cowabunga Bay, which has been a fun place to do it. In the spring, we've done different things. We used to do like a Easter egg hunt, and then we actually stopped doing that and started doing a bees baseball game. So we do a bees game, and I think people really like that. And then in the fall, we typically do a pumpkin patch or some sort of like fall festival type thing. So we're working on getting that scheduled now for the fall.
That's awesome. I think it's so valuable to have those client appreciation events, just because not only the touches and everything, but it's a thank you to your clients. And I want to go back because we've had this conversation before. I actually think you talked about it in a mastermind that you hosted, and you're like, it's kind of like this weird thing that I just remember, you know, about the clients' houses and when we were like searching and stuff. So if you don't have that naturally, I like use your CRM to put notes about things, because it really does make a difference when you remember those small things. And they're like, oh my gosh, he like cares about me, you know? And it really does make a huge difference. So I like that you brought that up.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed even with social media is like, we may have to walk this line a little bit, but like a lot of your clients and friends are posting what's happening in their life. And it can be as simple as they're having their daughter's birthday party on their back patio. And I comment, oh my gosh, you put a pergola up. It looks so nice. Like, genuine, happy birthday to your daughter. And like, wow, like, what else have you done? Like, I'm curious and I think that's great. And then they're like, yeah, oh my gosh, we did this and we did that. And, you know, it's natural. It's not a gimmick for me. But like, you know, I think those little things over time, you know, makes it so when somebody wants to sell again or upgrade or downsize, then they're calling me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned social media and that you're not so great at it, but I think you're great at it.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, of course. And you do a mixture of both personal and business. And you have just the one account.
One account.
Okay, because that's always like a thing with people. Do I have one or 2 separate accounts, you know? But you got one.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you post pretty consistently in your stories. Is that something that you've had to like do as a conscious effort? Like, okay, gotta post my stories today.
I mean, yeah, yes and no. Like most people, I deal with some like analysis paralysis. So like if I have to overthink creating a reel or doing too much, I find that I don't do it at all. So I like short form, quick, I'm putting up this story, I'm touring this house, like shorts, kind of stuff like that. I'm very conscious of when I'm with my clients, when I'm actually physically with my clients. I don't like filming around them, or sometimes I feel like there's some privacy things, or sometimes I feel like if my client really likes the house that I don't want to put it on my social media, like touring this awesome house in Holiday today, and then my clients want to offer and it looks like I'm trying to like sell it to somebody else. You know, so there's been some kind of mental gymnastics for me to like figure out what I'm comfortable with, but mostly I just try to be myself. And that sounds so cliche, but I just like to post things that I think are funny.
Kids, family.
A bird was in one of my listings, and
hilarious.
I like filmed myself trying to get the bird out, which I successfully did. Thank you very much. And then the house sold, so I think that was karma.
Yeah, it was.
But you know, I just like think sometimes it's fun and light, and that's what I try to do.
Yeah, and that you had posted this, like, a bunch of stories this one time, and I really followed along every story. Like, you were touring this house and what you look for in a flip.
Yeah.
And I thought that's that's such an educational story, and to take people on your journey of what you're looking for when you're looking for a flip. And I think that was so helpful, because it's like, oh, and you're like saying like your thoughts on it, like, this appliance isn't too old, but you got to keep that in mind, you know, that this might need to be replaced within the next 5 to 10 years, you know. So I really thought that was a cool story journey, because I watched all of it.
And it was like, this is where my amateur status of social media is, because like I didn't post for like 2 weeks, and then I posted like 50 frames of a story in 1 hour with no editing. So I
thought it was great, because I'm like looking at this house, and it's like, it was such a cool house, but obviously needed work, you know, and so, some loves. But I just thought that was a really neat way to educate your SOI and people that might be thinking about getting into flips and investing and things like that. So that was really cool.
What's cool about that story, I remember that specifically, I didn't even end up offering on that house because they got like 30 offers, and I was going to offer, but my offer was going to be lower than what they were getting, so I didn't even offer. But that was like in February, I think, and just last month in July, from that Instagram story, a different agent at my company reached out to me, and I ended up buying a flip that I'm doing now from her client, because she's like, oh, you do flips, did you want to look at this one? And like, so I got like a huge deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it needs a ton of work, and I've teased it a little bit on my social, but like, that was how I got that. And it was 6 months later from an Instagram story.
Yeah, you just never know. And that obviously was a memorable one. I see tons of stories. I mean, that's my job. I stalk agents, you know.
She's an Instagram story leader.
I am. And so I like saw that, and
my job.
I'm a stalker.
You do a lot more than that.
Yes, I know. But it is part of my job, is stalking. But I just remember that because I thought it was so helpful and educational. So I really enjoyed like going through this house with you, and like, you know.
That's cool.
So you should do more.
Okay, I'll do more.
Okay. So
follow me at Chad Swag.
Is it Chad Swag? Is it Chad Swag? Okay. The Chad. No, I'm just kidding.
Just
Chad. Just Chad Swag. Okay. So I want to kind of turn tables a little bit.
Okay.
What do you believe is the most important factor for a home buyer to consider when choosing their first home in the current Utah market?
Okay. Number one, I would say, is affordability or cost. It's really sad. I feel like a lot of people get pre-approved for a monthly payment that on paper or according to ratios they are approved for. But, you know, homeownership can be expensive, and if people get in over their heads thinking, oh, it was stretched to make this happen, it's not a comfortable way to live. Mm-hmm. You do not want to be house poor. Mm-hmm. So number one, I would say is, you know, be realistic about your budget. You know, you can't just skip coffee or skip Cafe Rio and afford a house. Like, it's a huge investment, and money's expensive, and our market is expensive in Utah. So, you know, I think it's really important you try to buy a home, but be conscious of what is important and what you can afford so that you don't feel house poor. Because feeling house poor is the worst. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of people lose money in real estate by overbuying and then feeling uncomfortable and then having to get out of a deal. Yeah. So I would buy below your budget a little bit if you can. And then my second thing is to try to pick a property that can be improved, or that, you know, pay attention to the things that you can't change. Okay. You can't change the location. You can't change the layout very much without doing a major remodel. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like cliche, but location. Like, you'll hate the commute, you'll hate your lifestyle if you end up buying way out of the area that you want just because you like this Joanna Gaines farmhouse. You know, it's like, just because it's pretty doesn't mean it's the best investment.
Yeah. Okay. And with that, when you get a family member or a friend or a referral, how do you start that process? Do you kind of vet them yourself first to see where they're at and then send them to a lender? Do you send them to a lender kind of straight away? And I know you work with like a really great lender here in Utah. So,
yeah, I think it's really important to understand the money side of things. So, usually I'll have a call or a conversation or a series of texts or a Zoom or whatever about kind of what they're thinking and what they're looking for. And I'll send them properties that are on the market, or maybe we'll walk through one or two, is just kind of get our minds around what they think they can afford. But really, I don't like showing a home without a pre-approval letter from a lender, because it's really a terrible experience for the consumer, for the buyer, to walk through something that they love that they can't buy.
Yeah.
And I can say that up front, and some people don't really believe me, or they think, oh, we'll be fine or whatever, but it actually really does suck, and they feel bad about it. Because then everything else that they look at, they're comparing to
that house. Yeah.
And it's funny, and if someone's budget is $400,000, they love all the homes that are $500,000. And I had a buyer recently whose budget was $2 million. Guess what? They liked all the $3 million homes. It's just like, there's just like human nature. Like, it's funny.
Shinier, things.
It happens. So I definitely recommend getting your money figured out before you home shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then let's move it over to the seller side. What are you seeing right now with your listings? And like, are they sitting? What are some tips that you can give to that you give to your sellers in this current market?
Yeah, we've kind of had some whiplash from 2021 till now. So in 2021, we had an extreme seller's market. There was no inventory. Money was really cheap to borrow, so buyers were just gobbling up every listing that came on, was selling in 5 seconds. 2021, you didn't have to do much to prepare your house to sell. It could be ugly, you could limit showings, and you would get 5 offers. It was really a nuts, not normal market. So fast forward 3 years now, 2024. It's not... Okay, so it's still kind of a seller's market, meaning there's not enough inventory. There's still buyer demand. But because money is expensive to borrow, and we've been dealing with these high interest rates, buyers tend to pick the homes that are more move-in ready. Now we're seeing it's harder to put a home on the market with a few projects that need to be completed. Buyers are much more picky about it. So now
they're paying more.
Now they're paying more, they're borrowing more, it's expensive to borrow the monies, and so now when I do listing consultations, I'm saying, hey, we actually probably should do the paint and do the carpet and get your junk all the way out. Or, in one of my listings right now, the guy moved out of state before we put it on the market, just so that it would be clean and we could get rid of the dog hair and make it as turnkey as possible. So buyers are still buying, but you have to present a product that doesn't appear to be a money pit or something.
Project.
And if you are going to list a property that has a lot of projects or deferred maintenance, you've got to list competitively on your price. You have to come down below what maybe even you're hoping to try to get multiple offers or incentivize a buyer to take it as is.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. And then I'm going to change gears a little bit more. What are some books or podcasts that you listen to either, help with mindset, motivation, or, real estate education? What are some, anything?
Yeah. I feel like I've read a lot of books that are kind of relating to being an entrepreneur, mindset, skill set stuff, real estate investing books. I would say some of the ones that maybe made a bigger impact to me have been, I really like this older book called Think and Grow Rich. That's really great for mindset, and it's a really fundamental thing, but a lot of us don't want to do anything and or think that we can't do anything for free or whatever. But that book talks about how it's just the power of your mind and your ideas and how you implement them that allow abundance and wealth to grow. And so, It sounds wooey sometimes to other people, but if you're an entrepreneur with no salary and you're trying to earn commissions, it's really important that you understand kind of how that mentality or mindset needs to work. So it's a great book. If you haven't read it, get
It's
it.
a good book.
I really like Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That book changed the way I thought about real estate investing and kind of taking just selling homes to, okay, how can I create wealth and buy properties that are assets and not liabilities? And, it's the voice and the story of that book is a little cheesy sometimes, but honestly, like, that concept is really key. And he has another book called Cash Flow Quadrant, which I think is important too. But And then I like this random book called Pound the Stone that is like a story about a kid that plays basketball in high school and kind of how he has to learn how to sell and how to be disciplined. That's a really good book. I can't remember the author's name. I feel like it's Jordan something. I'm always listening to something. I guess the story, the spirit of the question was, how do I keep my mindset strong? I listen to music that I like, that pumps me up, makes me feel good, and I avoid the news, and I listen to any type of book that will kind of sharpen my mind.
They not like us.
They not like us. They not like us. Wah, 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 wah. So Kendrick Lamar and Stephen R. Covey. That's it. It's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's not like us. I really like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People too.
Oh, okay.
That's a good one.
Okay, I've heard of that one. I never read though.
It's good.
Okay, one more time. 7
Habits of Highly Effective People.
Okay, thank you. And then while we're on this topic, I know that you've had a few different coaches throughout your career.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that this is also a common denominator between top producers.
Mm-hmm.
So you're investing in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And why was that important for you to get so I know you have a business coach for sure. And then
shout out Angie Wisdom.
There we go. And why was that important for you to hire one?
Like earlier when you were talking about like why I stayed on one team for such a long time, kind of like that same messaging is like, there's so many different aspects of real estate. Like, and I'm sure every job or any job, like, there's lots of different things that you can do, lots of different things to learn. And so as I progressed through just making buyer calls and working with buyers to being a better listing agent to starting to buy rentals and to doing flips, it's like as those things happened, like I needed to have some kind of outside perspective. And so I really like Tony Robbins stuff because he kind of empowers you to, have a strong mind and to take action. I'm better at that than I am at keeping really disciplined or accountable to numbers or tracking, that just by nature. So when I look for a coach, I'm looking for somebody who will help me with my weakness. So it's like you make a certain amount of money and you want to double it, or you want to add something in while you're maintaining that. You need guidance, like the greats in sports are great talent, but they still need coaching to direct them. And Kobe Bryant's coaches were not better at basketball than him, but they knew what his blind spots were. They knew what he should work on. So it's like that same kind of mentality.
I love that. That was such a great answer. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to switch gears again.
Yeah.
To our home buyers and sellers here locally in Utah. When can they take the best advantage of a time to buy or sell? Like in Utah, what is the best time to buy and sell? Sorry.
I mean, there are pros and cons to different seasons. Typically in Utah, we see the most listings come on the market in the spring. That's good and bad. It's good for buyers because they feel like they have more options. They really get a sense of everything different neighborhoods and possibilities have to offer. It's bad for sellers, kind of, because they have more competition. But it's also good for sellers because you have more buyers wanting to buy and being out and active in the market. We typically see fewer listings come on the market in July and fewer listings come on the market in December, or between Thanksgiving and New Year's. Just because in Utah we have 2 holidays in July and a lot of people travel, and most of the people who wanted to move surrounding the school year already did it. Mm-hmm. So July tends to be a little bit of a quieter month for new inventory. Not that we're not closing deals or having people who are already like in escrow or under contract closing, like that happens. But anyway, sometimes in the winter, there's maybe more motivated sellers if a home's on the market and it's cold and awful and snowy outside. Like, sometimes a buyer feels like they might be able to get a little bit more negotiating done with that. But honestly, I just say it's like when you're ready. Like, I wouldn't overthink it. Like, if your lease was up in November, I wouldn't say re-sign a lease till summer just to shop in the summer. I would be like, let's find the best deal in November. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or like, just when you're ready, when you need to go, that's the best time to do it. If you're not ready, you'll overthink all the reasons why you shouldn't do it and you'll talk yourself out of it. So just reach out anytime, because like a good agent will talk you through kind of what's around the corner and what we're expecting and whatever.
Okay. I love it. If you could talk to your new agent self, what would you tell him? Like, what's the biggest, what would you tell him?
Yeah, I think the number one thing I would tell a new agent or myself 12 years ago, just seek out, have enough self-confidence to seek out people who are doing what you want to do. I have found professionals in all aspects of the real estate industry be extremely welcoming, generous with their time and knowledge and willing to help. And if you just surround yourself with people who are doing a lot more than you, you will rise up with them. So, my biggest mistake my first year of real estate was that I just sat at a desk in this quiet, lonely office in Holiday, and I wasn't around anybody.
Yeah.
The guy that I was my mentor and my family friend and who I love was busy out selling, but I wasn't out selling with him. I was just alone in the office. Yeah. And I didn't have the foresight to be like, hey, could I tag along or learn from you? So I wasn't around it until I got around people that were closing a high number of transactions. That's when I closed a high number of transactions. And then I was around people investing in real estate. That's when I started buying rentals. And then I was around people doing flips. And I was like, okay, I guess I do flips now. And it's been a really natural progression. So.
And I love that you said that, because it is such a huge part of life in general. When you're hanging around winners, you're a winner. Mm-hmm. You're hanging around a bunch of losers, you're going to be a loser. And you just kind of got to weed them out. Yeah. Keep them at a safe distance, But I just think it's so important that you had mentioned earlier that you were hanging around the right people. All your friends were successful and like you knew you had to make it work, and you did.
Yeah.
So come hang around Chad.
The water's warm.
There it is.
I guess.
Oh my God, that's so fun. Okay, well, thank you so much, Chad. Thank you so much, Chad, for joining us today. I appreciate you so much in our friendship, and I think you are one of the most wonderful humans on this planet, or specifically like right here in this office, here.
In this room, top 2 in this room.
Just kidding.
No, you are. Thank you for hosting and for having me.
Yeah, you shared.
Always happy to help.
You shared great information. And where can people follow you? Oh, you already said.
Instagram, Chad Swag. That's it. And I'm on, Facebook, or text me, but whatever.
Okay. Yeah, he's awesome. He's amazing. Get to know Chad. Woo! All right, thank you. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please rate us, like us, and share this podcast with our real estate community. The Nova Show Real Estate Record, sharing raw stories of real estate failures, lessons, wins, and successes. This is all from Novation Title, bringing a different experience into your world so that we can all uplift each other. Until next time.